All right, so I guess I will introduce myself first. Catherine Burke. I've been on the board of VDay, and I'm conducting a couple interviews here with VDay participants. And today we have Carrie Ann Bugden. Woo!
Yay!
So Carrie Ann, why don't you just introduce yourself about like your name, how long you've been involved in VDay, and interesting stuff about you, I suppose.
All right. My name is Carrie Ann Bugden. I'm from St. John's, Newfoundland. I've been involved with VDay for approximately, I think, 8 or 9 years. I think I lost count. I'm a veteran. I know that for sure. There's nothing really interesting about me, just living life, loving life, living the COVID lifestyle like everybody else. Yeah. So I I've started to identify myself as a feminist, obviously. So
Is that
uh,
when you started VDay? When you started
um,
VDay that you kind of discovered your feminism, or is it more recent?
well, it's been more recent. To be honest, when I first started VDay, I had a sense about what feminism was, but I didn't really know what feminism, like what the actual word meant and the mentality of it until I got involved with the production.
So, what was your first impression when you first joined VDay
Um,
and the Vagina Monologue?
it's just the camaraderie of it. Everybody was so inclusive. That's the one thing I'm going to miss when I go to Halifax next year is the camaraderie and I'm going to miss like everybody, and I'm going to miss the theater scene around here. I find the theater community here to be one of the most inclusive environments that I've ever been involved in. I don't know what it is. It just is, right? Never had to question about anything. I never had to question my involvement in different things. It just seemed like everybody in this community helps each other.
So, how do you think that being a part of VDay has like kind of shaped who you are since you've been involved for so long? Like, what has changed? Do you think?
I've actually grown a lot as a person. I'm sure that you know that before like everybody would have said like before I joined VDay, I was more like basically into myself. I didn't really consider what was outside. And I mean, the COVID pandemic has brought that to me full circle, and it really actually reminds me and reiterates to me how similar we are versus our differences.
Yeah,
And I
it's
guess
kind
a
of made
lot of
everyone just a little more
sorry, go ahead.
human.
Yeah,
Kind of made
and I
everyone just a little more human.
yes.
Back to feminism. Um, what does like what does feminism mean to you? What is your feminism? What do you believe in?
Ooh, I believe everybody should be treated equally, regardless of their race, gender, and ability, and everything else. I don't believe there should be a divide in anyone, really. I guess a lot of it is based on how I grew up. I've seen people, I've seen things done to people in my community that I would never do to somebody else. That's one of the reasons why I stepped out of the social work profession because I've had to, the policies, I've had to abide by policies that are oppressive to me and oppressive to women. So I think a lot of there should be more woman representation in government. There really should.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
There isn't enough women in power.
So your feminism is like inclusivity
Yes,
and
yeah, and
equality.
diversity.
All right. So the big question now, how do you
Dun, dun,
think
dun.
that how do you like think that your feminism and your disability and activism and like anything else that's involved in VDay, your sexuality, your attraction to other humans? How do you think that all kind of mixes together in you?
A lot of it I find is, um, particularly being a woman and a person with a disability in general, it's like a lot of the care that you receive and a lot of the othering that happens is you have to accept the help from able-bodied people who call the shots about what you can and can't do. I've had home support workers in the past. I don't have one now. I've lived independently by myself for almost the past 9 years. I wouldn't. I would not like having different people like all the time coming in, whether they're trained or not. That's my personal boundaries that I don't want to have infringed upon. Like people think that people with disabilities in general or women with disabilities don't have any dignity, but it's damaging to the self-esteem.
And so you think that's like some of where your activism and your
Yes,
feminism comes from,
yes.
getting agency back.
And I
Yeah.
find that sometimes a lot of women with disabilities aren't given the opportunity to discover their sexuality like I have been.
Yeah.
And I don't know why that is. I think it's like a lot of it is in terms of ableism and being coddled by people in society, like home care and professional help. They don't have the boundary between personal and professional.
What would you want people who may not know anybody in their life who have physical disabilities, what would you want them to know about people with disabilities and sexuality?
Uh, a disability, everybody's disability is different. So just because somebody uses a chair or uses this or uses that or blah, 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 doesn't mean that they can't or won't. It's just that it means they need a little bit of help.
Yeah.
I can, if I wanted to have sex with somebody, I could, right? I don't
Yeah.
really know what I could do, but it's, I guess for me, it would just be like trial and error, like everything else. I've only started considering myself as a sexual being like when I was in my late 20s, really. It's not that I didn't consider it before. It was just something that wasn't brought up to me. Like my parents never sat me down and had the talk.
And do you think that, like, because I think personally that VDay is a really like open and accepting place in terms of sexuality as well.
Yes.
So here's what we need in a post-pandemic society. We need places to be more accessible,
Yeah.
people to be more inclusive,
Yeah.
and people who understand that disabled people are humans and capable of sex in various different ways.
You got it,
Anything
Pontiac.
else?
But I mean,
Anything else?
the education. We gotta keep up with the education. We gotta keep talking. We gotta keep expressing. We have to keep discussing because the second we don't do that, it goes away or
We
it
go
gets
back.
swept underneath the rug. But the other thing is too, it's not my job to educate everybody around the world.
Yeah.
That gets exhausting. It's tiring.
Yeah, for sure. We got to educate ourselves.
Yes. And I mean, doing this is a great step toward doing that. I've never been approached with something like this before, and I feel honored and privileged to do this for you. And people haven't really given me the time of day to talk about this stuff before, so thank you very much.